Chapter 7 examines the executive branch in California, a microcosm of the state's political system. It is riddled with fragmentation and redundancy. 8 major office holders are elected independently of one another. Among these, the governor stands out as most powerful. However, other office holders, notably the Attorney General and Controller, exercise significant constitutional authority and enjoy considerable prestige. Noting the disjointed organization of the executive branch, this chapter sets out the responsibilities of the various offices and describes the state's bureaucracy. Let's start with the governor, who clearly is first among equals in the executive branch. He is the state's most powerful elected official. He certainly is the elected official with the most influence over the budget. He appoints key policymakers, and he responds to and shapes public opinion by taking positions on controversial issues. The governor has a number of formal powers. As I just mentioned, his most important formal power is submission of the annual budget. He not only submits the budget, but he also can veto portions of the budget through what is known as an item veto. He has 2 different types of vetoes available. He can reject a bill in its entirety, or he can item veto before signing the budget into law. The governor also can call special sessions, issue executive orders, make appointments, and grant pardons, reprieves, or service commutations, or sentence commutations. Governors also have informal powers. They can be active policymakers and push their own agendas. We saw this with Governor Pete Wilson in the late 1980s with actions related to immigration. Governor Schwarzenegger pushed a number of policy issues with little success, and we've seen Governor Brown use his informal powers to advance issues such as prison realignment, high-speed rail, and constructing twin tunnels to deal with the state's water issues. Now let's take a look at the supporting cast in the executive branch. The Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, Superintendent of Public Instruction, money officers, and the Insurance Commissioner. The Lieutenant Governor has few formal responsibilities. He is an ex officio member of the UC Board of Regents and the CSU Board of Trustees, and serves as President of the State Senate. He may vote to break ties in the Senate, but no Lieutenant Governor has been called on to do that since 1976. While many believe that the Lieutenant Governor is the second most powerful member of the executive branch, the reality is that the Attorney General is usually considered as the second most powerful. The Attorney General represents the state in important cases and has substantial authority that allows the person in the position to chart a different course from the governor. The Secretary of State is basically a records keeper and election supervisor. Many of the responsibilities are related to elections, certifying the number and validity of signatures obtained for initiatives, referenda, and recall elections, producing sample ballots and ballot arguments for voters, and publishing official election results, among other duties. State Superintendent of Public Instruction is the only elected official in the executive branch chosen by a nonpartisan ballot. But the position's power is severely limited because funding is largely determined by the governor's budget decisions and policies are closely watched by a number of other committees. Let's take a quick look at the state's money officers. State Controller supervises all state and local tax collections and writes checks for the state. The Treasurer invests state funds until they're needed for expenditures. And the Board of Equalization oversees the collection of excise taxes on sales, gasoline. This is a quick look at the State Insurance Commissioner. Finally, let's take a look at the state's bureaucracy. There are 341,000 state workers, but the governor's appointment power, just like the president's, is severely constrained by the civil service system. The governor appoints about 5,000 state workers. And while some criticize California for having an inflated and unresponsive government, the reality is that California is one of the top states in the country for the number of state workers per population. This is your video lecture for this chapter. Please use this lecture as well as your study guide to prepare for this week's quiz. Good luck.